After 2 decades of watching BMW's X5 set the standard for what a luxury performance SUV should be, I'm about to tell you something that might sound impossible. The 2027 Mercedes-Benz GLE has finally done what seemed unthinkable. It hasn't just caught up to the X5. It hasn't merely matched it. Stuttgart has delivered a vehicle that fundamentally redefines what we should expect from this segment, and in doing so, has rendered the BMW X5's long-standing dominance completely irrelevant. If you've been following this rivalry since the E53 X5 first challenged the original NL class back in 1999, what I'm about to share will either validate your suspicions or completely change how you think about these two German giants. Let me be clear about something right from the start. I've driven every generation of both these vehicles. I remember when the X5 was genuinely revolutionary, when it brought sports car dynamics to a segment that didn't know it needed them. I remember when the Dowie 164 NL class was trying desperately to shake off its reputation for questionable build quality. I've watched this battle evolve over 25 years, and I'm not someone who makes dramatic claims lightly. But what Mercedes has engineered for 2027 represents a paradigm shift that goes far beyond incremental improvements. The 2027 GLE rides on a completely redesigned architecture that Mercedes is calling the MMAL platform, and this is where things get technically fascinating. This isn't just a refresh of the existing chassis. Mercedes has fundamentally rethought how a luxury SUV should be constructed, using a multi-material space frame that combines high-strength steel, aluminum extrusions, and carbon fiber reinforced polymer in load-bearing sections. The result is a structure that's 18% more rigid than the outgoing model while weighing 67 kilograms less. Now, BMW has been talking about lightweight construction for years, but the current X5 still carries the weight penalty of its older platform architecture. What this means in practical terms becomes immediately apparent the moment you turn the steering wheel. The GLE's front end responds with a precision that honestly shocked me on first drive. There's a directness to the steering that feels like it belongs in a vehicle 2 segments smaller. Mercedes has equipped the 2027 GLE with their latest generation of rear axle steering, now with up to 9 degrees of steering angle at the rear wheels. For context, that's 3 degrees more than what BMW offers on the X5. The difference isn't subtle. In tight European city streets, the GLE feels genuinely compact, with a turning circle that's nearly a meter smaller than the X5. But here's where it gets interesting. On a fast alpine pass or navigating the winding roads you'll find anywhere from the Appalachians to the Scottish Highlands, that rear axle steering works in phase with the front, effectively lengthening the wheelbase and creating stability that makes the X5 feel nervous by comparison. I need to address the elephant in the room. BMW enthusiasts will immediately point to the X5's legendary handling dynamics. The way it shrinks around you, that famous connection between driver and machine. And yes, for years, that was BMW's trump card. But Mercedes hasn't tried to copy BMW's approach. Instead, they've done something more sophisticated. The GLE uses an evolution of their E-active body controlled suspension, now in its 3rd generation, and it's moved beyond party tricks. This system uses a 48-volt electrical architecture to power hydraulic actuators at each wheel. It can adjust compression and rebound damping independently at each corner in real time, scanning the road ahead with a stereo camera system. The result is a vehicle that can be genuinely comfortable when you need it to be, soaking up broken pavement and highway expansion joints better than any air suspension system, while simultaneously delivering body control and dynamic driving that matches or exceeds what BMW achieves with their traditional adaptive dampers. But here's what really matters. The X5, for all its dynamic prowess, has always asked you to accept a certain level of firmness in daily driving. It's the compromise BMW enthusiasts accepted because the payoff in handling was worth it. The 2027 GLE doesn't ask you to compromise. It delivers that handling precision while also providing genuine comfort. And before anyone dismisses this as making the GLE soft or disconnected, understand that Mercedes has calibrated this system with real sophistication. In the most aggressive drive mode, the GLE generates lateral acceleration figures that match the X5 M50i, while maintaining better tire contact patch management through high-speed transitions. I've tested this on track, and the data doesn't lie. Now let's talk about powertrains, because this is where Mercedes has made perhaps their boldest moves. The 2027 GLE launches with 4 distinct powertrain options, and each one has been engineered to address specific weaknesses in BMW's current lineup. The base GLE 450 uses a turbocharged inline-6 that produces 381 horsepower and 398 pound-feet of torque. These aren't segment-leading numbers, but here's what matters. This engine is paired with a 48-volt integrated starter generator that adds another 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque for brief periods during acceleration. The result is a powertrain that feels considerably more powerful than its specifications suggest, with instantaneous throttle response that makes the X5's Turbo 6 feel laggy by comparison. The GLE 580, meanwhile, gets a twin-turbocharged 4.0-liter V8 producing 469 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. Again, these are competitive but not class-leading numbers. The X5 M60i produces more peak power, but Mercedes has focused on delivery. This V8 produces 90% of its peak torque from just 1,800 RPM, and it maintains that torque plateau all the way to 6,000 RPM. The power delivery is relentlessly linear, and combined with the 9-speed automatic transmission that's been specifically recalibrated for 2027, the GLE 580 accelerates with a seamlessness that makes the X5's power delivery feel peaky and old-fashioned. Here's where things get really interesting. The GLE 500e represents Mercedes taking the plug-in hybrid concept and actually engineering it properly. Too many PHEVs in this segment feel like compromises. Electric motors and battery packs added to existing platforms with insufficient integration. The GLE 500e was designed from the ground up as a plug-in hybrid. It uses a turbocharged inline-6 producing 326 horsepower, paired with a permanent magnet electric motor producing 201 horsepower. Combined output is 510 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. But raw numbers only tell part of the story. Mercedes has fitted this variant with a 31.2 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and this is crucial. That gives the GLE 500e an EPA-estimated electric range of 67 miles. For context, the BMW X5 xDrive 50 manages only 39 miles of electric range. This isn't a minor difference. This is the difference between a plug-in hybrid that can genuinely serve as your primary vehicle for daily commuting versus one that depletes its battery pack before you've reached the office. And then there's the AMG GLE 63 SE Performance. Mercedes has taken everything they learned from their Formula One hybrid systems and applied it to a 5,000-pound SUV. The result is genuinely extraordinary. This uses a twin-turbocharged 4.0-liter V8 producing 563 horsepower, paired with a rear-mounted electric motor producing 181 horsepower. Combined output reaches 677 horsepower and 752 pound-feet of torque. This SUV will accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.4 seconds. That makes it quicker than the Porsche Cayenne Turbo e-Hybrid, quicker than the BMW X5M, and quicker than many dedicated sports cars. But speed is only part of the equation. That rear-mounted electric motor enables torque vectoring that simply isn't possible with mechanical differentials. The AMG GLE can shift power between rear wheels instantaneously, rotating the vehicle through corners with precision that feels fundamentally different from anything else in this segment. Let's discuss interior space and luxury, because this is where Mercedes has traditionally held an advantage, and for 2027, they've extended that lead considerably. The GLE's cabin represents a level of craftsmanship and attention to detail that BMW simply hasn't matched in the current X5. I'm talking about genuine leather that's noticeably thicker and more supple, wood trim that's been book-matched and finished with the kind of care you'd expect in a Maybach, and metal switchgear that operates with a precision that reminds you of mechanical watches. The X5's interior is handsome and well executed, but next to the GLE, it feels like BMW saved money in ways that become apparent over time. The 2027 GLE introduces Mercedes' superscreen configuration as standard equipment across the lineup. This is a single piece of curved glass that spans 56 inches across the dashboard, housing 3 separate displays. The driver gets a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, there's a 17.7-inch central touchscreen, and the front passenger receives their own 12.3-inch display for entertainment and navigation. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like technological overload, screens for the sake of screens. But Mercedes has implemented this system with genuine thoughtfulness. The interface is intuitive, the graphics are crisp and high resolution, and crucially, they maintain physical controls for climate and volume. BMW's current iDrive 8 system in the X5 has moved too many functions into touchscreen menus, creating frustration during daily use. Mercedes has found a better balance. The MBUX voice assistant in the 2027 GLE has reached a level of sophistication that genuinely impresses. It now uses natural language processing that can understand context and follow multi-step commands. You can say something like, "I'm feeling cold, and I want to find Italian restaurants near me." And the system will simultaneously adjust the climate control and pull up restaurant options. This might sound trivial, but after weeks of living with both vehicles, these small conveniences accumulate into a significantly better ownership experience. Rear seat space represents another area where the GLE has pulled ahead. Despite having nearly identical external dimensions, the GLE offers 3.7 additional inches of rear legroom compared to the X5. This might not matter if you're always driving solo, but for buyers in this segment who need to transport clients, family, or colleagues, that extra space makes a meaningful difference. The GLE's rear seats are also mounted slightly higher, providing better thigh support for adult passengers, and the seat backs recline through a wider range of angles. These are details that matter during 4-hour drives from London to Edinburgh or cross-country trips across the American Midwest. Cargo capacity has long been a strength for the GLE, and the 2027 model maintains that advantage. With all seats in place, the GLE offers 33.3 cubic feet of cargo space compared to 33.9 in the X5. Essentially identical. But fold those rear seats, and the GLE opens up to 84.7 cubic feet versus 72.3 in the X5. That 12 cubic foot difference is substantial. It's the difference between fitting a full set of golf clubs and luggage for a weekend trip versus having to make difficult choices about what to bring. For buyers who actually use their SUVs as utility vehicles, this matters enormously. Now we need to discuss technology, safety systems, and autonomous driving capabilities, because this is where the GLE establishes advantages that will matter increasingly over the next 5 to 7 years of ownership. Mercedes has equipped the 2027 GLE with their Drive Pilot Level 3 autonomous driving system as an available option in markets where regulations permit its use. This isn't just enhanced cruise control. This is a system that can legally take over all driving functions in specific conditions, allowing the driver to take their hands off the wheel and their attention off the road. The system works at speeds up to 40 miles per hour on mapped highways with adequate GPS signal. BMW's current highway assistant in the X5 remains a Level 2 system, requiring constant driver supervision. The practical implications of this difference are significant. In heavy traffic situations, the GLE can genuinely reduce driver fatigue in ways the X5 cannot. The GLE's standard safety suite includes every electronic aid you'd expect, but Mercedes has refined these systems to operate with less intrusion. The lane keeping assist doesn't constantly fight you for control. The adaptive cruise control maintains following distances that feel natural, rather than either too aggressive or overly conservative. The blind spot monitoring system uses more sophisticated sensors that reduce false positives. These might seem like minor refinements, but after thousands of miles, these small improvements in system calibration make daily driving considerably less frustrating. One area where BMW has traditionally excelled is in offering drivers a connected ecosystem that extends beyond the vehicle itself. The BMW app allowed remote starting, climate preconditioning, and vehicle location tracking years before many competitors. Mercedes has not only caught up but surpassed BMW's capabilities. The Mercedes Me app for the 2027 GLE can provide detailed diagnostics information, schedule service appointments that automatically sync with your calendar, and even monitor driving behavior to suggest more efficient routes. The system can learn your patterns and proactively suggest departure times based on real-time traffic conditions and your calendar appointments. This level of integration represents the kind of technological sophistication that mature, professional buyers genuinely appreciate. Let's address reliability and ownership costs, because for buyers in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who understand total cost of ownership, this matters as much as any performance specification. Mercedes has made significant strides in reliability over the past decade. The current generation of Mercedes engines, particularly the inline-6 and the newer V8, have proven considerably more durable than the powertrains they replaced. BMW's engines remain excellent, but they've also had well-documented issues with timing chains, oil consumption, and cooling system failures in various models. Neither manufacturer publishes comprehensive reliability data, but third-party sources suggest the gap between Mercedes and BMW reliability has narrowed considerably, with some models showing Mercedes actually pulling ahead. Service costs represent another important consideration. Mercedes has restructured their service pricing for 2027 model year vehicles, offering more competitive scheduled maintenance packages that include coverage for the first 4 years or 50,000 miles. BMW's Ultimate Care program ended years ago, and their current service pricing tends to run higher than Mercedes for comparable services. Over a 7-year ownership period, these differences can amount to several $1,000s. For a buyer financing or leasing one of these vehicles, the GLE's lower projected maintenance costs can genuinely offset its slightly higher purchase price. Residual values and depreciation deserve serious discussion. Historically, BMW products have held their value better than Mercedes equivalents, but that pattern has been shifting. The current generation GLE has demonstrated stronger residual values than previous models, particularly in plug-in hybrid configurations, where Mercedes' superior electric range provides tangible advantages. Industry analysts project that the 2027 GLE will retain approximately 52% of its value after 3 years and 36,000 miles, compared to 50% for the comparable X5. These projections should be taken with appropriate skepticism, but the trend is clear. Mercedes is closing the gap in what was once a significant BMW advantage. Let's talk about the dealer experience, because this matters enormously when you're making a 6-figure purchase decision and will rely on that dealer network for service over the next decade. Mercedes has invested heavily in upgrading their dealer facilities and training their service personnel specifically on their newer electric and hybrid powertrains. BMW's dealer network remains strong, but there's been more variability in service quality, particularly at smaller dealerships. Loboth manufacturers offer loaner vehicles during service, but Mercedes has been more consistent in providing equivalent replacement vehicles rather than lower-tier loaners. For professionals who need reliable transportation, these details matter. I need to address the elephant in the room regarding pricing. The 2027 Mercedes-Benz GLE has a starting price approximately $3,000 higher than the comparable BMW X5. That price premium increases in higher trims, with the GLE 580 commanding nearly $5,000 more than the X5 M50i. On paper, this makes the BMW look like better value. But you need to examine what you're getting for that additional investment. The GLE includes as standard equipment items that BMW charges extra for, including the superscreen display, the advanced e-active body-controlled suspension, and more comprehensive driver assistance systems. When you configure both vehicles to equivalent specification levels, the price difference narrows to under $2,000, and when you factor in lower projected maintenance costs and better residual values, the GLE actually represents superior value over a typical ownership period. The plug-in hybrid comparison becomes even more interesting. The GLE 500e starts at just under $81,000, while the X5 xDrive 50e begins at $79,000. That $2,000 difference gets you 28 additional miles of electric range, significantly more power, and a more sophisticated hybrid system. For buyers planning to use the electric range daily, the GLE's superior battery capacity will save considerably more than $2,000 in fuel costs over 3 years of ownership. The math isn't even close when you run the actual numbers. Now let's discuss driving dynamics in more depth, because this is where the rubber literally meets the road. I've spent extensive time driving both the GLE and X5 on the same routes, back to back, in the same weather conditions, to provide genuinely comparable impressions. On a twisting mountain road, the kind of challenging driving that enthusiasts seek out and professionals sometimes encounter during business travel through varied terrain, the GLE reveals capabilities that redefine what we should expect from a luxury SUV. Turn-in is sharp, with minimal body roll, despite the vehicle's size and weight. The steering, while not as communicative as a dedicated sports car, provides enough feedback to place the vehicle accurately through corner apexes. The brake pedal feels firm and progressive, with strong initial bite and fade-free performance, even during repeated hard applications. The X5, particularly in M Sport configuration, remains an excellent dynamic performer. BMW hasn't lost their ability to engineer engaging driving experiences. But next to the GLE, the X5 feels like it's from a previous generation of thinking about what a performance SUV should be. The BMW still relies primarily on mechanical engineering, traditional dampers, and anti-roll bars to control body motion. Mercedes has moved beyond those limitations with their electronic suspension management. The result is a vehicle that can adapt to changing conditions in ways that mechanical systems simply cannot match. On the Autobahn, where these vehicles will spend considerable time given their primary markets, the GLE demonstrates high-speed stability that inspires genuine confidence. At 140 miles per hour, the GLE tracks straight with minimal wind buffeting, minimal tire roar, and an overall sense of composure that allows relaxed cruising at speeds that would feel tense in lesser vehicles. The X5 is also stable at high speed, but there's more wind noise around the mirrors, more tire roar transmitted through the chassis, and a subtle sense that you're pushing the vehicle harder than it wants to be pushed. These differences might sound subtle, but over a 3-hour Autobahn run from Munich to Hamburg, they accumulate into significantly different experiences. Around town, in the kind of driving that actually comprises most ownership miles, the GLE again demonstrates advantages. Parking sensors are more accurate, the surround view camera system provides higher resolution images with less distortion, and the combination of rear axle steering and compact dimensions makes maneuvering in tight spaces genuinely easy. The X5 isn't difficult to drive in urban environments, but it requires more attention and provides fewer electronic aids to simplify challenging situations. For buyers who will drive these vehicles in cities like London, Rome, or San Francisco, where parking is challenging and streets are narrow, the GLE removes stress that the X5 still imposes. The refinement factor deserves special attention. Mercedes has always prioritized luxury over sportiness, and for 2027, they've achieved levels of acoustic and vibrational refinement that establish new benchmarks. At idle, the GLE's cabin is genuinely quiet, with none of the diesel-like clatter that BMW's inline-six sometimes exhibits when cold. At highway speeds, wind noise is minimal, tire noise is well suppressed, and powertrain sound is present only when you want to hear it. The X5 is also well refined, but there's more audible evidence of the machinery working, more feedback transmitted through the structure. Some enthusiasts prefer that connection to the mechanical experience, but for luxury buyers who prioritize serenity, the GLE provides a more sophisticated environment. I want to address build quality directly, because this has historically been an area where perceptions haven't always matched reality. The W166 and early W167 GLE models suffered from some quality control issues, particularly with interior trim pieces and electronic glitches. Mercedes has invested heavily in improving manufacturing quality, and the 2027 GLE reflects that investment. Panel gaps are tight and consistent, interior materials are fitted precisely, and electronic systems operate reliably. The X5 has generally maintained good build quality, though recent production has shown some variability, particularly in vehicles built during supply chain disruptions. Neither vehicle exhibits the kind of quality issues that would raise serious concerns, but the GLE feels slightly more solid and meticulously assembled. The technology integration in the GLE extends beyond the infotainment system. The digital key function works reliably, allowing you to unlock and start the vehicle using your smartphone. The wireless phone charging pad actually works properly, maintaining charge without overheating or disconnecting. The head-up display projects a large, bright image that remains easily readable in direct sunlight. These are small details, but they're details that BMW hasn't always gotten right in recent models. The X5's digital key can be temperamental, the wireless charging is slower and less reliable, and the head-up display is smaller with lower resolution. Over months and years of ownership, these small frustrations accumulate. Now, I need to be honest about where the X5 still holds advantages, because a credible analysis requires acknowledging both vehicles' strengths and weaknesses. The X5 remains slightly more engaging for drivers who prioritize that connection to the driving experience above all else. If your primary criterion is feeling involved in the act of driving, the X5's more communicative steering and firmer suspension setup might appeal more than the GLE's focus on comfort and capability. The X5 also offers a wider range of customization through BMW's individual program, allowing buyers to specify unique interior materials and exterior colors. Mercedes' Designo program offers customization, but BMW provides more options.